Good one.
All good? Yeah.
This is one of the most pressing issues facing law enforcement this election week. Anti-government extremist groups bracing for violence.
When the talking stops, the violence starts.
No matter who the next president is.
This is to help you keep peace?
Yep.
I'm Lori Siegel, and this is an inside look at the Boogaloo Boys.
The last thing we want is war in any way, shape, or form, but we're ready for it if it comes to that.
Good one. You can hear the grind in there.
On a Saturday morning in mid-October, we were invited to a suburb of Lansing, Michigan, to spend some time with about 24 Boogaloos as they got together ahead of a rally.
We're just trying to be free again. The Constitution doesn't give the government power, it gives the power to the people.
The Boogaloos are an anti-government extremist group that has become increasingly associated with violence.
A firearm is a regular citizen's last hope to fight against tyranny.
Its members consist of mostly young men who wear Hawaiian shirts and trade cryptic memes that include crude jokes about killing employees of the federal government and hint at an impending second civil war.
I mean, we're in a room with firearms. Is that part of the plan?
I'm not gonna bring a fork to a gunfight. If you trust the police to carry guns and law enforcement to carry guns and protect you, you should feel just as safe with guys in Hawaiian shirts around.
There comes a point when voting and you're not being listened to isn't enough.
All good? Yeah.
People linked to the movement have been charged with terrorist acts and a kidnapping plot, seeking to join forces with the terrorist organization Hamas, and murder of a law enforcement official. In May, 3 members of a Nevada Boogaloo Facebook group were arrested on charges for conspiring to cause destruction at a Black Lives Matter protest in Las Vegas.
How do you guys respond to the fact that more and more we're hearing about these one-offs with people associated with what you guys are talking about?
What makes them truly representative of us? Who in our movement vetted them, who knows them, who vouches for them, and who says, yep, they're a Boogaloo boy? So you're judging them based on what? A similar shirt or attire?
Or if they commit a crime and write boog and blood on a car.
Okay, but that's one dude.
So this is what you're bringing today?
This here is usually a setup most people will have. Their own personal medical kit, stuff to take care of your ABCs, your airway, breathing, and circulation. If you've got air coming in and out and your blood's going round and round, we can keep you alive.
And this is obviously a bulletproof
Yeah, this
vest.
is the vest. I guess it's just your basic pre-built kit AR.
And the idea is that this is to help you keep peace?
Yep.
This 21-year-old construction worker hosted today's gathering. He asked us to call him by his Boogaloo name, Soap, inspired by a Call of Duty video game character. He says he joined the movement this spring.
You talk about making sure you keep the peace. I mean, even in Las Vegas, 3 men arrested on the way to a protest over George Floyd with explosives who associated with Boogaloo.
That's the thing is, you get those crazies like that aren't really in groups with anybody.
But they associate themselves with you guys. I mean, do you worry that this could get out of control, even more out of control than
Absolutely,
than it already is?
It's always a worry.
So explain to me how you learned about the whole movement and why you decided to join.
So it was around the time when the lockdowns and quarantine and everything were starting, and people had their, free time to do research, look into some of the corrupt stuff that the government's done in the past. You know how Facebook works, you start liking a couple things, your whole feed's nothing but that one thing.
Sure.
So eventually you kind of start seeing, these groups on Facebook with weird names, and they got funny memes, so you like them and start following them, and you start talking to people in the groups and finding people in your area, and that's kind of how everything started.
Specifically, what are you most upset about?
I guess the whole fact of just the government being able to say, hey, you can't do this anymore, and that's it.
Like what?
Like the lockdowns, I work with 3 other people, why can't I work right now?
Do you think that's what led to this, to a lot of increased frustration?
Absolutely. It's, people were living their lives. It wasn't perfect, but it wasn't, that bad either. A lot of us, we go to places like the gym for, therapy, or people, go to the bar to relax. And all of that was taken away, and now people have no way to let off steam.
What was that like for you personally?
Anger and confusion.
What do you mean?
I feel like I'm being lied to about stuff. I'm angry that these people are just doing this stuff and getting away with it.
The rise of social media has expedited the radicalization process. What used to take months or years can now happen in a matter of weeks.
The more and more you look in, you're like, okay, I can't ignore this, and these guys seem pretty level-headed and think that we can work together and try and change the country for the better.
In June, Facebook attempted to crack down and has since banned more than 16,000 pages and groups tied to movements like the Boogaloos. Many members have turned to other lesser-known apps like MeWe, Discord, and Telegram, where they talk in private chat rooms. We created our own accounts and observed members using coded language to discuss their recruitment process, joke about the feds monitoring their conversations, and share prayers asking for protection in a possible war.
They're searching on the internet for something that they can find belonging with and a common cause, but the undercurrent there is that this is just a vulnerable individual.
Elizabeth NEUMANN served as the Assistant Secretary for Counterterrorism and Threat Prevention at the Department of Homeland Security under President Trump.
I was in one of their homes in rural Michigan, and you ask them these questions, Elizabeth. You say, there's been kidnappings, potential murder plots associated with this group. They say, well, that's not us. Those are more extremist people.
I think a lot of people justify joining groups like Boogaloo Boys. ISIS is like this too, right? There are theories about what ISIS stood for that attracted a lot of people. It wasn't the violence, it was this idea of a caliphate, and it attracted a lot of people to join them for that purpose.
NEUMANN, who voted for Trump in 2016, left the White House earlier this year, later alleging that the president's rhetoric and decision-making fueled a rise of domestic extremism.
What has happened over the last 4 years has laid groundwork that we will be combating for the next 10 to 15 years.
Hands up, hands up!
NEUMANN says her breaking point was the August 2019 mass shooting in Texas, where 21-year-old Patrick Crusius shot and killed 23 people and injured 22 others at a Walmart. Crusius wrote a manifesto that warned of a, quote, Hispanic invasion of Texas. The event was the deadliest attack on Latinos in recent American history.
They made it really clear, and these were very senior people at the White House, you need to understand we can't talk about this in terms of domestic terrorism. And they framed it as, we need to talk about this in terms of violence prevention. I was like, that's fine. I need you to understand that I need to talk about it the way it actually is. This is domestic terrorism. This is not just a person with a mental health problem. This is a movement. It is on par with what we are seeing out of ISIS. In national security, you have to define who the enemy is and what their intent is in order to figure out how you go about and defeat that enemy. So for us, defining that threat was of critical importance. It would be better if the president could call this threat out, but he clearly was not interested in addressing domestic terrorism. I think he believes that many of those folks are his supporters, and one of his operating principles is you are loyal to the people that are loyal to you.
A White House spokesperson told us that NEUMANN is, quote, just wrong, saying the president forcefully spoke out against domestic terrorism at the time of the Walmart shooting. We were with the Boogaloos at a so-called unity rally in Michigan that they organized outside the state capitol. They say the rally was designed to rebrand themselves as nonviolent. The group assigned Soap as the faction spokesperson.
What about the second civil war? Are you awaiting that one?
We are trying to prevent a second civil war. That's the point of the event today, is to get people to talk to each other.
Soap told us another reason they organized today's event was to find common ground between groups ahead of the election. They invited Antifa, Proud Boys, and Black Lives Matter, among others. But few of these members showed up, and the rhetoric we heard was more about combating the government than keeping the peace.
We absolutely dwarf the size of any military, militia, government that is anywhere in the world, and together there's absolutely nothing that could stop us.
The rally was held outside of Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer's office, just 9 days after the FBI foiled a plot to kidnap her. The court papers indicated a link to the Boogaloo movement. Tim TEAGAN confirmed this link.
I can say two of them I knew, Pete and George. Those individuals, I knew them personally. They were their own militia, and they came to the bigger movement because It was their same ideologies.
But so some of these same ideologies are leading to danger, like a plot to kidnap the governor of Michigan. Does that worry you?
If anything, look as a sign that we are reaching a breaking point, because I can contest to one thing, the good merit and character of some of these men.
As the presidential election approaches, Soap told us he believes there will be violence from both sides, regardless of the outcome.
There's so much tension around the whole country right now that it's hard to see everything going away in a peaceful manner. So at this point, it's arm yourself, be ready, and wait and see what happens.